such good care of them. And then we have Anna Marie, who's 13 years old. All of these animals were kept as pets and human interaction, so they can't be left go back into the wild. So we gave them a beautiful home here. And panthers are one of the most endangered mammals in the world. But we are pleased to announce that this year their numbers have increased for the first time since 2008. In fact, they've even been sighted north of the Caloosahatchee. Now, as we run the bend, we have our koi fish over here, our Japanese koi fish. In Japan, they are passed down from family to family. And there's actually a koi fish documented that lived to be over 200 years old. Amazing. On the passenger side, we have this basket flower blooming. These bloom like every second or third day. They're just gorgeous. If I had a garden, I would put them in there right away. They're just so beautiful. And then all of these flowers in here support a butterfly's life. We have the plants where the butterflies lay their eggs, the leaves the caterpillars eat to form the chrysalis, and of course the nectar plants that the butterflies drink on the passenger side here to keep them going. So you can have these same plants in your yard and attract butterflies to your garden by planting the proper plants. Now here's our big orange where we have gators, we have otters back there, so make sure you take a walk on the wild side and check out our animals that needed a home, our sanctuary animals. And of course you see all the peafowl around. There's a boy there. The boys have the blue neck with the beautiful feathers they shake to attract the females. They're calling each other mating. And we have two white ones that are leucistic. I hope we also get to see those today. Now this pathway takes you over to a building. At the end of that building are the bathrooms. And on the pathway is the bust of Floyd and Jane Ray. Floyd and Jane Ray moved here in the 1920s from the state of Indiana. Mr. Ray sold real estate in Hollywood, Florida, until the hurricane of 1926 sent his real estate business south. So he came out here and bought 300 acres for under $5 an acre and started Flamingo Groves. It was a beautiful business and he did very well. So him and his wife built this home you see on the passenger side to entertain their clients and their friends on weekends. The house is open for touring and it's air conditioned, so make sure you stop in and learn more about the Rays. The house itself was built from Dade County. Fortunately, Dade County is extinct. It was all used up by the settlers before they knew about the word conservation. Now also behind the home, Mr. Ray planted a seed in this beautiful banyan tree. Now banyan trees are unique because they grow from the top to the bottom. Those aren't ropes to swing on hanging down there. Those are roots of the tree. And once the roots hit the ground, they dig in and form a new trunk. So we call it the walking tree also because it kind of walks along as it grows. In India, these trees grow so large they house flea markets and people live under them. Then we have our wedding gazebo, and here we have some desert rose plants that are blooming. Great plant for Florida, good for drought. Then in the back here we have what we call the Milky Way trees. The white flowers exude a fragrance in the evening, and they have orange seed pods. I just think they're one of the prettiest trees. And as we round the bend here, we have an avocado tree that the Rays planted. Look at all of the avocados on the tree. It's really unbelievable. It used to be a lot bigger, but Matthew, the hurricane, took half of it with him. Now there's the barbecue house, and Mr. and Mrs. Ray could just walk out of the barbecue house, pick some avocados, go back, make guacamole and avocado. A nice setup. The texture of it. By the way, and here on the driver's side, we have a couple acres Mr. Ray set aside for experimentation. For example, he planted those lychee nut seeds that are beautiful trees now. These are some sour oranges left from the original plantation. And then here we have a little banana plantation. Now bananas are plants, not trees. The stalks are made from tightly woven leaves. And the second plant in, you'll see the heart, which is red. It's also the flower. You look up and you'll see the bananas. We have some behind the picnic bench here too, and in the back. Now, it takes a year for bananas to ripen, so I just go get mine at the supermarket. Now, on the passenger side, we have a staghorn fern hanging from the tree. So big someday it'll actually break the branch of that tree. They get huge. On the driver's side, in the middle of this field, we have a tree with a V-shaped trunk. And if you look up and down, you'll see the fruit on the tree. Now, this tree bears the largest fruit in the world. It's called the jackfruit tree, and it's from Bangladesh. And I've heard it tastes like juicy fruit gum. That fruit can get to be up over 100 pounds per fruit. Now, on the passenger side, there's another little Caribbean. In front of it is a pomegranate plant, but here's my favorite. Next to this three-trunk tree on the left is this bushy tree with like some brown leaves and pods inside. Inside those pods are cocoa beans. That's a chocolate tree, a cacao tree, or my favorite. I love chocolate. And we don't have those up north, so that was fascinating when I came down here to see my first chocolate tree. Then these skinny trees with, it looks like pickles at the top, those are papaya. And papaya is a really good fruit. If you eat a lot of sugar and a lot of the chocolate, papaya will settle your stomach. It's good for tummy ache. Now as we round the bend, we have a red lobster claw heliconia on the passenger side. Now we're entering our pretend rainforest. Pretend because we don't get enough rain for a true rainforest. A true rainforest requires 150 inches of rain. We only get 50. And then we keep losing the canopy to tornadoes. It's supposed to be dark and damp in here. But at least we've recreated the floor of a rainforest with these large leaf plants. Now these large leaf plants give us oxygen to breathe. That is what is so important about rainforests. They give us oxygen to breathe. That's why we need to learn to conserve and protect our rainforest. Now on the passenger side is a big leaf plant. And those leaves have holes in them. Now, the botanists call that plant Monstera Delicioso. It took me 3 weeks to learn how to say that. But the common name is Swiss cheese because it has holes in the leaves like a piece of Swiss cheese. That's a lot easier to say, the Swiss cheese plant. And on the driver's side, we have the candy corn, heliconia. I just love the orange and the yellow colors there. Candy corn, heliconia. And then on the passenger side, we have the Brazilian red cloak. This can grow to be 17 feet tall, this plant. And then a little beyond here, we have the two trees with the red peeling bark on the trunks. These are gumbo limbo trees. Huge, they're by the passenger door, and they have red peeling bark. Now, these are gumbo limbo trees, and they were used to carve carousel horses back in the day. But now we call them the tourist tree because they have red peeling bark, just like the tourists have red peeling skin after they've been in our Florida sun for a few days. The jokes don't get any better. Now this is a really special area. Mr. and Mrs. Ray bought this property 90 years ago. When they bought it, she set this acreage aside to never be touched, only the road to be built. She wanted no construction, nothing added, nothing taken away. So when we drove in here, we could look around and see what Florida land would look like had it never been developed. The trees have a few more inches, but otherwise nothing's ever been touched in this area. This is a hamaka, or a tree hammock, and this is where the Indians and the settlers would come and make their camps and raise their children, and then they would fish out in the Everglades. So this is a little piece of history she preserved for us. It is her legacy, Mrs. Ray's legacy. Now on the driver's side, we learned when we built Florida that if you take water from one area, you have to put it somewhere else. So this is our mitigated man-made thing here on the driver's side. Now this is also where we release birds from the aviary. If our birds have babies, we bring the babies out here and we release them into the wild. And there's a bunch of turtles on the rock sunning themselves. We have a lot of turtles here. We actually saw a softshell turtle lay its eggs today. And over on the other side of the water is an Anhinga in the tree there. It's got a brown neck and a black body. I don't know if y'all can see it. The bush that's touching the water, if you look up, you'll see a bird in there. Anhingas are birds that love to fish, but they don't have the right oil in their wings. So they'll dive in, they'll get their fish, and then they'll go sit on the side of the lake and dry their wings before they go in to get more fish. Oh, those turtles are so afraid of us, they all left. There's an iguana. There's an iguana, though, on that rock there. He didn't leave. You crazy turtles. Then along here, we have Bonnet Lilies. This was so flooded the other day, we couldn't see any lilies, but they're starting to come back. They're called bonnet lilies because if a turtle comes up from underneath with one on its head, it looks like it's wearing a bonnet. And they're very beneficial in keeping the water cleaner. Now here's a Muscovy duck. Muscovy ducks were brought here when they were building the railroads in the 20s. They were brought up from Mexico as a food source. The boys have that red thing on their face called a wattle. The railroad workers left and the Muscovy ducks stayed. They're all over Florida. People call them a nuisance, but I think they're beautiful in their own way. Our Muscovy ducks. And then here we have two ibis. Now the white ibis is full grown, and the darker ibis is more youthful. The young ones have brown feathers. When they turn white, they're fully grown. The ibis are known as weather birds because they're the last to leave before a hurricane and the first to return. Now we're coming up to a wetland area where you are welcome to get off and walk around the park. Oh, there's another Anhinga. On the branch along the shore there is another Anhinga drying her feathers. One of them was brought here injured and we brought it back to health and it stays here now. Oh, how pretty. It came out to see us today. Our Anhinga. So anyway, this is a walkway. If anyone wants to get off and spend some time out here, you can catch the next tram back, or you can walk back to the park. So I'll stop for a minute. There's a juvenile heron out there on the banister. I can see it from here, a juvenile heron. So I'll stop for a moment in case anyone wants to get off. Nobody getting off? Okay. All right, so let's continue on. These are bald cypress trees here. Now, bald cypress trees are deciduous. That means they lose their leaves in the winter, but spring has sprung. Look at all the leaves they have now. And the Indians love to build canoes from this type of wood. It was such a strong, beautiful grained wood. And when you look down, you see these funny protrusions coming up from the ground. The scientists don't know why they're there. I think they give the tree more support. Look how nice and straight these heavy hardwood trees are in this sandy soil. But the scientists don't know, so, and I'm not a scientist. But these are kind of neat, these knees sticking up. And the Indians would cut them off and make souvenirs and toys from them for their children. Then beyond here, we have about over 100 types of palm trees. But this is one of my favorites because there's thorns on the branches. Out in the wild, these thorns grow really big. So the big animals, like the panthers and bears, won't go near these trees. They don't want to get cut by the thorns. The little animals, like the bunnies and the fox, know that. So they built their nest in the base of the tree and then raised their young, knowing big animals won't come near the thorns on the fan palm tree. Now back here is where Mr. Ray had over 2,000 acres of citrus at one time, 65 varieties. In fact, he was instrumental in building the Port of Everglades to ship his citrus all over the world. Due to the canker virus and all the problems with citrus, we now grow mangoes back here. Magnificent mangoes. We have over 15 different varieties, and as you can see, there's a lot of fruit in the trees that'll all be ready in June. The mango tree is related to poison ivy, so if you touch a leaf, you might have an allergic reaction. And mangoes are the king of fruit in India. So if you go to someone's house in India for dinner, you don't take a bottle of wine, you take a basket of mangoes to show your love and appreciation. All of our mangoes. Right past these palm trees on the passenger side, if you look across across the field, you'll see a stand of bamboo. Now, I always thought bamboo was a tree, but it's actually a grass. And it's one of the fastest growing grasses in the world. There's actually a type of bamboo that grows 12 inches a day. Then, did you know 60% of the food you eat needs pollination to be produced? So we have this flower garden to help promote pollination. We have zinnias, coreopsis, the state wildflower of Florida, sunflowers, some blanket flowers. That attracts butterflies, dragonflies, moths, all types of pollinators. So we're doing our part to keep the food cycle going. And as we round the bend here on the driver's side, we have an area where there's a walkway made of recycled tires, 11 tons, donated by Broward County. Very soft to walk on. And in that area, oh, look at this big iguana. In that area are all native plants and shrubs. Oh, he's running. What are you scared of, silly boy? Yeah, all native plants and shrubs to Florida. So it's kind of walking in old Florida. Yeah, we have one that's about 5 feet. We don't get to see him that often. And we have about a 3-foot one at the Flamingo pond. He might come out this afternoon. Now, as we round the bend up here on the passenger side, we have 2 palm trees that look like they need a shade. These are called old man palms, and they're native to Cuba on the passenger side. Now we're in the Jurassic area of our park. That's because these are all cycad plants surrounding us on all sides. Cycads date back millions of years. We find them on the tundra, in the Sahara, on the desert. And the most important thing is when we dig up the bones of dinosaurs, dig up the fossils of these plants. So we know that this was dinosaur food. So it's a little after lunchtime and we're in the middle of dinosaur food. It's a good thing they're extinct. You know, it's a good thing. Now on the passenger side is another body of water, and close to the shore you'll see a green film on the water. You can see it better as we round the bend. That green film is one of the smallest plants in the world. It's called duckweed. We have it in our rookery also. And that duckweed is very nutritious for the birds and the fish to eat. And it's really neat because if you're ever stuck in the Everglades, you can eat it too. I heard it tastes like fishy eggs. Now, it gets really bumpy up here, so hold on to your seats and all of your stuff and enjoy the ride. Now, here on the driver's side is a croton. There's a lot of crotons here. They're the multicolored, thicker leaves. I like this one because it's yellow, pink, and green. We have so many plants, it just boggles your mind. This is an elephant plant. In Hawaii, they use the roots to make poi. That's a main staple dish in Hawaii. And as we round the bend on the passenger side is the sapodilla tree. Now, sapodilla trees are unique because when you cut the trunk, this white latex-like material comes out. It's called chicle, and it's used to make chewing gum. So we've nicknamed that the chewing gum tree. And here's the turtle. She laid her eggs right there today. This next little patch of ground here that's dark, right in the middle, is a turtle on a mound. It's a softshell turtle, and she was out here laying her eggs earlier. Can you see her? Can you see her? No? She's in the middle of that mound. She's the same color as the sand. It's so hard to see her. But she's a softshell turtle, and she just laid her eggs. Right in the middle of that pile there. Everybody get to see her? No? Okay. Now, if oxygen masks fall from the top of the tram, please don't be alarmed because we just climbed a mountain. In Florida, this is what we call a mountain. On the driver's side, may I introduce you to Mount Flamingo, third highest elevation in all of Broward County. Hard to imagine. This is a series of elevations that are called Long Key. And if you go across Flamingo Road, there's a Long Key Nature Center where you can learn more about these elevations. Some of these trees are over 100 years old. This used to all be the Everglades, and this was always above water, where some of this land was just part of the Everglades. And it was drained to give us places to grow crops and build homes. Now on the passenger side, we have these three great plants. Now these great plants I call grown-up plants because they're agave, and from agave we get tequila. And over on the driver's side, in the back there, we have Sabal Palm trees. And the Sabal Palm trees are gorgeous, and they're the state palm tree. Now they were called cabbage swamp by the Indians, who would boil the leaves and make cabbage swamp soup. And inside those trees are also the hearts of palms that you eat on some salads here in Florida. Now on the passenger side, we have a calabash tree right here, right next to the door. It has one gourd in it. Now those they used to make maracas. And if you look down the road, you see those two funny looking birds by the base of that tree. Those are Egyptian geese. They're wintering here. We're not even really sure where they live anymore. They kind of escaped from a zoo at one time. And then multiplied. There's about 6 pairs in the area. They're beautiful geese. They truly are. Egyptian geese. And then in front of that is a tree covered with a bougainvillea vine. The bougainvillea vine grew up this Melaleuca tree and covered the tree. It's not the tree blooming, it's the vine. And it's just gorgeous. That's amazing what nature does. She just takes over. There's some lilies here. And then coming up this gnarly tree on the passenger side with the peacock underneath it has red blooms on it. Those red blooms, when you look at them real close, look like baby bottle brushes. So we nicknamed that the bottle brush tree. Then over there is a black cage, and inside that black cage lives Josh our bear. Josh our bear is 450 pounds of pure love, a black bear. He lives in that cage enclosure. You can't see him right now, but he lives in there. He was kept in a cage as an education animal in cement, always eat light. And the first time his feet touched grass is when he came here. He's retired now and loves his life in this enclosure. And see, he's laying right by if you go over there and look, he's laying under the window, taking a nap. He does a lot of sleeping. So make sure you check out our bear. And there's those Egyptian geese again. They're following behind the peacock. They look like they have makeup around their eyes. Now, if you want to see the Wildlife Encounter Show, I'm going to drop you off at the Orange, and you'll walk straight across the park. And the Wildlife Encounter Show, they bring out 3 animals that you can look at. So I'll stop here. I'm going back to the tram station, but I will stop here so you can see the Wildlife Encounter Show. Or wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. Is it 1:30?